I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. After the microphones stopped, we started talking about our interview with Reagan Hodges of Rainmaker Platoon, and he decided that he would like to add more detail to many of the same stories that he already told. So here is part 3 with Reagan Hodges.
Oh, so you want to start from the 6th?
Whatever, man. It doesn't matter. You can start from the beginning of the deployment. Hey, this is for you, bud. You said you wanted to put in more detail. Let's put in more detail.
Yeah. So it basically, now you got me confused now. You don't get me speechless very often. This is bullshit.
No, okay. So we came off of our last conversation, and you had a lot of really good stories, man. And so you're I guess like maybe talk a little bit about more what you were thinking was missing, because I'll be honest, my memory isn't that good about the specifics, except for now, because I've been doing I've been reliving this now. But fuck, we just did Tebow, and he had several things that I was like, oh fuck, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So what makes you most comfortable, man? Like it's really we're.
Is it okay if we just start it over from the top?
Yeah, man.
But I know that we're gonna say a lot of the same shit.
That's all right.
But you have to throw in all the sweet compliments that you had before about me and all that.
I'll do my best.
You know,
as long as you get it's same though. Remember, don't leave me hanging. I mean,
I got you.
Some of those famous back rubs that you used to give me,
I'm even better now, dude.
Set the mood.
So do you remember like kind of what we went on? Because I like it when you guys at times, because when you refreshing my memory, like when you go, you guys are more like in depth or in tune with what happened in order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've tried to take some notes, and I've just referred back to the book. And
yeah, we can help you go a little bit more chronological if that's what you would prefer.
It's something like that. And I kind of like what we talked about a lot last time. I don't know. It didn't come off right. Maybe I'm just being stupid. I don't know.
We've already introduced you. I can easily clip that in. But go ahead and start. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you? So where were you prior to joining 2-4? Let's go with that, and then we'll just go from there.
Prior to joining 2-4?
Yeah. So you had some prior service, yeah?
So I was in the Marine Corps, and I went in 94, got out in 1998. Then I came back in 2001.
What was your MOS the first time?
It was 03, 41.
Oh, you were 41. Okay.
Yeah. Right. And then I had a hunting and fishing show on TV with some business partners, and I got burned out of it. In business, it wasn't becoming fun no more like that. And I wanted to go back to where I just wanted to be, and that was making almost no money in the Marine Corps, hanging out with a bunch of dudes, coming up with battle plans and little stuff like that. That's just the stuff that I like. So I wanted to go back into that.
And when was this? Like, what time period is this that you got serious about?
2001, early 2001.
Oh, so even before 9/11.
Yeah, so already. March 25th or May 25th, one of those days. In 2001 is when I came back and reenlisted. And they went to 2-4, originally went to Golf Company, was out there. I was with Golf Company for a while, and then they just, when they switched, Lieutenant Appert came over to Weapons Company, and he brought some of us with him, like the last guys that were there. Oh. So that's when we made the switch from Golf Company to Weapons Company.
Because that would have been prior to CAX, right? Because you did CAX
I did
with
CAX.
us?
I did CAX with weapons. Yeah,
That's what I thought.
yeah, we did that there.
Oh, that's right. Because I remember, we won't say his name, but you were there was a one portly Marine that you that you were teasing the one time, and it was at night, and I think it was Gunny Merarkey was looking for him, and you could imitate his voice so well. The guy that was the portly Marine, and you said, "I'm over here, Gunny. I'm eating some cotton candy," and and
Absolutely.
Gunny thought it was.
And Merarkey,
him.
he's ready to kill somebody.
He was about ready to eviscerate. That was easily one of the funniest things that's ever happened in my entire life. I still laugh out loud thinking about that.
It's funny putting people's life on the line like that,
Well, you did.
Yeah.
But anyways, so
fast forwarding a little bit, obviously we did that fun 1-year stint in Okinawa, but probably to its credit, it did make us all bond a whole lot more. We got a lot closer as a company just in general. And then we moved into got back from Okinawa and did sort of the preface. I don't recall, but did you do any division schools or anything like that? What
I went to infantry squad leaders course. And I think that's the only class that I went to at that time, during that time frame. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
And you were a corporal at that point, right?
Yeah, I was a corporal at that point.
Yeah.
So I had, I worked the ranks a little bit. I'd like to go up, come down, go back up.
It was a ladder.
Universal player.
People ask me, what rank were you? I'm like, well, what month are we talking about?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It is what it is, right? I mean, in both enlistments, it's been it's kind of hilarious to me. When I was I was on weapon company in 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines back in the 90s, and I had a Gunnery Sergeant Hartless. He made a comment in one of my company NJPs, and it's the same comment that was made. I don't know if it was by Dobb or by Cook or somebody when I was getting NJP by Sergeant Major Booker, but they said he's just the kind of guy that, if we can manage him better in garrison, it would be great. But what we'd really like is just to put him in a glass case and break in case of emergency, And I was like, if we could only do that, it would save me a lot of time and money. You know what I mean? Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I know that there was some ups and downs coming into the last part of our pre-deployment stuff early 04. So I know you were up at March Air Force Base for some of the training, and then kind of bring us into that stretch. So March, and then our very infamous attempt flight out to Kuwait.
We talking about like all the drama that I got into?
Well, that's up to you if you want to go into that. I was just talking that's the next bigger phase is post because you would have gone to corporal's course with or infantry squad leaders course with Leighton, right?
I think it was. I don't know if I went to the same one as he did or not.
Okay.
I can't remember. The thing is, I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to pinpoint dates and stuff like that.
Oh, it's over. It's 25 years later. So that's...
Yeah, but it could be like 25 seconds later and I'd still have the same issue.
Yeah.
So I can't recall. I honestly don't. I just know that that's when I was going back and forth with my court and I was always going somewhere. I mean, it kind of pulled me out of training for March Air Force Base when we were up there doing our last little run of training before we went. And yeah.
So what do you remember of the flight out? Like getting ready to get on the bird and head on out?
I remember being excited. I remember like feeling like this is what we're here for. I have no room. Like anybody that would have been scared or anything like that. Not that we knew a lot of people that were like that, but I just had no tolerance for that. Like that's the ultimate. That's the big game. We want to go to the big show. That's what you train for all those years. And so, not like I said before, you don't pray for war, but you pray for the opportunity to be there if there is a war. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
I did not want to miss out on that opportunity. And I think there's a lot of us that didn't want to miss out on that. Some of us might have wanted it a lot more before we got there.
Sure.
And then things kind of changed, but I don't feel that way. It's we think even after the fact of looking back at all we've been through, and people will say, "Hey, man, was it worth it?" I say absolutely, it was worth it. I don't regret anything about that deployment. And I feel guilty kind of saying stuff like this, but I mean, some of the best days I had in my life were over there. And I feel when I say I feel guilty, it's like you're talking like I've become so close to Mama Savage. And I think she would even understand this. Like when I think of Jeremiah, I don't think of like it's sad. Obviously, he's one of our guys that didn't make it home. But when I think back at him, I look at it with like I put a smile on my face. Like I don't think of only like him not making it home. I think of like what I seen with my own two eyes. I think of the bad motherfucker that he was. With my own eyes, I seen how a man will react within, what he couldn't have been more than 15 yards, 20 yards away when they got attacked. When Lieutenant Dobbs struck with Riegelsburg, they were just under heavy fire right there. And from where I was at, I could see everything happening. I know exactly what that man would do when he's in a situation like that. He got up on his gun and he started rocking and rolling, rounds deflecting off the turret right in front of his face.
Yeah.
And without hesitation, you got to understand, and this is in the same, like it happened so quick. Most of the people in the platoon, even the ones in that truck, when something that loud and that violent happens close to you, a lot of people don't even know what's happening yet. They're trying to gather their senses. Right. He was already sending rounds downrange, saved their lives. So when I think about Savage, I think about that. I think I'm so glad that I got to serve with a guy like that.
Yeah. Well, let me pick.
That's what I think about. So it brings a smile to my face when I think him. Like there's parts that some of the best days and worst days of my life were over there.
Sure.
But I gotta you always wonder. I think it's maybe just my personality. I don't know, but I always wanted to know what I would do in situations like that, how I would react. And you always hope you would react just like that. And I had a situation where I was able to do that, but.
Let's I'm gonna stop you just for a second. Let's pull on that thread just a minute more since you're already on Savage. I bet you've got 5 or 6 more stories of Savage. I would love to hear more in detail because you're a detailed observer and I like that. So let's pull that thread a little bit. You got anything else about what Savage did?
Well, Savage was like the guy to go to if you need, like when we needed to start jacking armor from the army base.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Savage is your guy.
Yeah.
When the freaking wattage blows out in your hooch, and there's, everything was backwards over there. Who do you go to? Go to Savage. Yeah. He's that dirty, gritty dude that's going to get shit done. Regardless, if Humvees will break it, when you can't go to the motor pool, who's going to get on that? Yeah. Savage.
Yeah.
When I took the drive up to into Iraq, my driver was Savage, and I couldn't have had anybody better. I mean, I asked a couple people before who wanted to go, and everybody else chose to fly, and then Savage was the one that said, "Yeah, we'll drive." Because I wanted to. I just wanted to be on the ground. I wanted to get get there faster than anybody else. I wanted to be,
Mhm.
And that's Savage was my guy. I mean, I just look back at so many things, and it's impossible for me like to think of him and not put a smile on my face.
No, I agree. Absolutely.
I know things. It's sad. Like the stories that his kids will probably never even know about him, and they might hear some of it, but they're never going to know the full impact of it, and like what kind of badass their dad was. Like they're not going to know that.
Right.
They're gonna, like I said, hear a story or two, but a lot of that's gonna go, at least from their, they're not ever gonna know that stuff. But I know it. I know the truth about it. And I've told his mom. I think one of the things I'm proud of, or just I was just lucky to even be involved in it, is when we got back home years later. I had been in touch with Lieutenant Dobb a little bit here and there, and
Mhm.
and we started. I don't know. The conversation come up about. He brought to my attention about he wanted me and Doc Contreras, to submit some statements, and that's when we went to get him for him to be awarded his Navy Comm.
Yeah.
And I was honored to be a part. To be a part of that, writing the statements and with Doc C, and for that to get passed and for him to get that award was incredible. Like I can't even. It was so well deserved, and I just take a lot of pride in that they even asked me to help be a part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, some of the worst days and best days were over there. I hate when when you lose your friends. Obviously, it's horrible. I don't look at it like anybody over there just died in vain. I look at it like we're infantry grunts in the Marine Corps. Like it's the old saying, and it's as corny as it may sound, like freedom isn't free. You know, thank God there's men brave enough to go out there and sacrifice it all like that.
Yeah.
I completely.
It's after the fact. It's sad, it is. But I'm not going to sit around my whole life and just mourn that fact. I'm gonna put that dude in the highest of praise, and rock, he's a rock star as far as I'm concerned.
No, I completely agree. Although I haven't necessarily kept as close of contact with a lot of the guys, I now 20 years on realize those are some of the best friends that I ever have made. Even 20 years on, I know that there's not a stitch one that wouldn't, if I called, be like, hey, I need some help, they'd show up immediately.
Yeah.
And then also to that kind of piece of like, yeah, Iraq was hard and difficult, but at the same time, there's a beauty of the black and whiteness of it, especially from we were volunteers. We chose this life, and so we were able to do the thing that we trained for all these years. And there's such a black and whiteness over there that I know it's still 20 years on, and I still miss that. I miss the people. I miss that very specific mission, and yeah. So I pick up what you're putting down, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I liked putting all that effort into the fight. I like throwing grenades. I like, telling Laylon, launch your M203 down here, and watching him just splatter people with it. Like, they're bad people, so it's not like you have any, remorse about it. I don't.
Right.
We never, at least me, everybody that I know, we weren't shooting at people that weren't trying to kill us first. So,
Right.
Well, that was that famous General Mattis quote right around the same time, right? Sometimes it feels good to do bad things to bad people, or whatever.
Oh, God,
I'm sure he said something much more eloquent, but that was basically what he said.
Yeah, and a lot of people look down on that, but at the same time, you need those people.
Yeah.
You need those people on your team. So call me bad, call me whatever. I don't care.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of launched right into it talking about Savage, but anybody else specifically stand out to you? Anything else you can remember? You talked about Leilong. That's another good one. Got any other stories of other teammates?
Like I said, everybody that was on my team from day one, you know, doing a great job doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the one that goes out there and gets all the kills. I mean, somebody can be doing that, but if you're not covering for him, he's not going to be able to do his job. Like, you might not get the kills, but you get the assists because you kept him. It's a team effort. It truly is. And what I've learned is one of the biggest, reasons that I've got to come home was not because I was great at my job or even because of the people around me that were great. It's because you get lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just get lucky. So there's so many things that go into it. But like I said, everybody that I had on my team, and I was very aggressive, and I was always up in their face and pushing them to do what I needed them to do. And they all did, man. Every one of them did. And I look back at it now, it's one of the things that I didn't really think too much of at the time. I didn't have, kids or anything like that at the time to think about. But you think about a guy like Savage who already had kids, his wife pregnant.
Yeah.
And they're doing that stuff, and they got a lot to lose. A lot to lose, and they just put it all on the line like that. And it stays with me forever. And I'll never not be grateful for all of them. It's hard to explain. It's hard to put in words, if you understand what I'm saying.
Sure. I do. You said something, and I'm going to ask you a few more questions about that. Actually, you talk about pushing your guys a little hard specifically. I'm curious about your relationship with command as well. How did you feel as far as, so you had Sergeant Garcia, who was your platoon sergeant just because of the way your sections got split, and you had Lieutenant Dobb. Did you feel like they were helping to guide or push you, or were you taking that on yourself, more of a shouldering the burden and trying to shape the mission?
No, there was no burden. It's just part of the job. I loved every bit of it.
When I say burden, I just mean leading Marines is a task, right? Even if you have the best dudes in the world, sometimes they're assholes, and sometimes they're the best people on the planet.
Yeah, they weren't. I got to be honest; they weren't assholes to me. They were great. Yeah, maybe it's just the style that I had. Like, I didn't need to be motivated to be over there. Once you get me out of garrison, I'm in my element, I think Garcia did a great job. And I think part of that was by letting me do my thing, and I look back at it, and I got away with a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't. And I don't know why necessarily. But I really had a little bit of, I don't know, leeway. I don't know what you'd call it. So it just worked out great. I think when they went to split the platoons, that they did a good job matching personalities and things like that, skill sets with certain other members of your team and stuff. It was definitely like Garcia had his role, I had my role, and then Lieutenant Dobb has his role, and he's the kind of guy, he doesn't say a lot, but when he does, you do it.
Nice.
And you trust him. You trust him. But everybody had trust in him. So when you feel good, like you feel like the people around you are working with you, and they're going to fight their ass off to the death for you, and your chain of command, I felt like when we were over there, I felt like they had our back 100%. I know they did. And I was just, like I said, for that situation, for being in hell, it was the best situation.
Yeah.
Did you, I have a distinct memory of you coming out with us before. Did you have any other opportunities to work with any other platoons?
I remember going out with you guys several times. Like if that was our week to be pulling guard or whatever, I was always trying to get in somebody's truck.
Yeah.
always. And I like it, to see how other people work.
Yeah.
It's just good. I like it. I take when I jump on another team, I take a different role. Like I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna follow the lead, so to speak. I'm not gonna jump in nobody else, a different platoon, and think I'm gonna be running the show because it's not gonna happen. Nobody is. But I like that experience. It's kind of funny. I remember when we first got to Iraq and we started getting the missions started coming in, and then you'd be on base and you'd hear some gunfire going off. You hear an ID and you're like, oh hell yeah, we're about to go. I think about it most normal people, if they hear a bunch of gunshots and a bunch of bombs going off, and they knew that their brothers were out there getting either killed or wounded. You just know there's so much violence out there, and none of it's all directed towards you. None of it's good. And you'd see like people chomping at the bit to get there. Like nobody was we're like, we all wanted to go. We wanted to go straight to the fight. And when you notice another platoon got the call and they're rolling out the gate, you're about halfway jealous. Like, damn it.
Yeah.
But that's not a normal mentality. It takes a kind of I don't know, a different mentality. You call us weird, whatever. But I'm glad I was around all those weird guys.
Yeah.
I love the fact that everybody was wanting to get out and get some. But it's, like I said, it's not a normal mentality to go put me in the fight right now. But that was our norm. That was the normal for us.
And I think it become. I remember thinking about this even when we were there, that we had gotten put into an extremely unique position because we were basically the cavalry. I mean, we functioned more like dragoons, but for the purposes of our conversation, it's the cavalry. And so we were able to roll out and, be the big swing on anything. We weren't, and so we were the special teams, and that's what got us excited. And I don't know if that's just how any group would have been if that's given the same environment, or because of the nature of how hungry we were for the fight. That's how we really became functionally our primary job, and at least in my memory and view, is we were the cavalry. We did day taskable, we did a little other things, but functionally, as far as our AO went, we were the hammer that came out and fucked up the whoever was, if Golf or someone else was getting in a tangle, we came, and it was over when we came.
I mean, I love the fact that everybody had their own area of responsibility. We had the whole city.
Yeah.
We got to go and fight. We fought with everybody. I love that. That's a unique position to be in. That's what I love about Weapons Company. And to me, that was just a big bonus. To me, that's like we had the best ticket to the game. We got to go everywhere. We had VIP. We could go anywhere at any time they needed us, and we did. We stormed that whole freaking place.
I think the other aspect of that probably made people more hungry to go out the gate was, and trying to take the rose-colored glasses off a little bit, we got bad news basically every other day. That's how it felt. And especially you being with Golf Company, I imagine hearing about Golf Company and Echo Company casualties. I knew a lot of the dudes in Echo from when we did Operation Noble Eagle and we trained side by side. Mm-hmm. I was constantly hearing about people that I knew closely. Even if I hadn't kept up with them or talked from, I was hearing about bad shit happening to people, and I didn't want that bad shit to keep happening. I didn't want to keep hearing that shit anymore. And so going out there and being able to exercise my frustrations was much more, was really appealing. Getting out the gate and solving the problem was great.
Oh yeah. It's, like you said, starting from when McPherson got a third of his face blown off.
Yeah.
By the way, he's the only guy that I know that gets his complete a lower third of his face blown off, and gets better looking after that. I don't understand that. Yeah, he went from that. Now he's happily married, living the life. I'm like, dude, you did that shit for attention, didn't you? He just laughs.
It's funny, when we saw him at the reunion, I was picking on him about that too. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I can't even get near you. You're a celebrity. Everybody wants to talk to you. And he's fucking laughing. I was like, you asshole.
Yeah, we had a good time. We were at one event, and Zimmerman from Golf Company was there, and he also, in that same ID, they got McPherson. It blew Zimmerman's eye out. And so we had a big get together in Texas, and Sergeant Major Booker, it was up near in his hometown. And we were all sitting out there, and McPherson, we were all going to get a picture together. But Zimmerman took out his eyeball, and somehow it ended up in my mouth.
Somehow, yeah.
And so we're getting a picture, and originally McPherson was going to take the picture, but he got so grossed out, he started gagging. He was like about to throw up because I got this dude's eyeball in my mouth, and we're laughing so hard he gets mad, and so I laugh twice as hard,
Yeah, for sure.
And he looks at Zimmerman, he tells Zimmerman, "I'm about to kick your ass if you don't shut up." I'm like, you can't be kicking his ass. I got his eye in my mouth, dude. Come on. But it was just, that when people start, and it's a funny, looking back on it, like that part's just hilarious now. But, hearing about him, and then, like I said, my old roommate, Walker, when Walker got killed, it just, like I said, I think back to the 90s when I lived with Walker, and he was one of my boots, and the stuff I used to, you know how I am, like I mess with people, like that's what I do. I picked on that dude so bad, but in a good, loving way. Like we loved him, but when if you're a young, I don't care really, actually, even if you're just a new guy, but you're gonna get it if you're around me. I'm gonna call you a boot. I'm gonna just push your buttons and then continue to do that. Even when we become friends, or even if we remain enemies, it don't matter. That's what I'm. But losing people that you've known, it starts to bother you. But it's more. You can either let that control you, or you can let it motivate you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't need any extra motivation, but when stuff like that happens, even though you think you can't get more focused, it brings you up. You reach a new peak, when it's real personal like that.
Sure. I never, Nyland, I think you had that was an interesting point, and what you're saying, Hodges, really, I never completely put that together. That I think we had a weirdly cohesive battalion, not just weapons company being able to be cohesive, but that Oki deployment in a weird way really brought together, again, you would hear, I knew a lot of the guys in Golf and Echo in particular. Oh, yeah. I was close with them. And so there's an added layer to when your friends are not okay, that you're like, come hell or high water, I'm gonna make this at least right on the back end.
Yeah. I always, I'm loud, so I had people either loved me or hated me from all over the battalion. I feel like I got along with most of them, as long as I wasn't messing with them at the time. So I knew a lot of people. Like I could, we'd show up anywhere and just start talking crap and fit in or not.
Everybody knew Hodges. You are not a wallflower, my friend.
Either one way or the other. Either loved me or hated me.
Well, and you're an equal, and you said it yourself, and I would agree with it. You're an equal opportunist. I mean, it wasn't you. Honestly, you're the type of person that you're not going to. If you're banging on somebody, it's because you like them at some degree. Yeah. And if they're really a shitbag, you're not banging on them. It's something very different. You were, and that goes back to kind of like why you quote unquote got away with more stuff, is because I think command understood that you you had the mission at heart and troop welfare and all that stuff. And so, you know, you weren't your processes were maybe unorthodox, but you got.
I mean, it was effective. It worked for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it worked for my team. I mean, I had a good team. And even though we mixed it up with different people, like I said, they all came together, and I felt like we were strong. Every little different group we had. It's just crazy looking back on it, and then and just remembering how young some of those guys were. I mean, do you either one of you do you have like situations that you think about that you're like, holy crap, that's just so wild? Like I can remember just randomly, like on, I think it was April 7th. What day was it? I think it was the 7th. We showed up to assist Echo Company, and when we got there, things were just crazy. And I remember us getting there, getting out of the trucks, and you, dude, it was going on. There was heavy. It was on. You know what I mean? And I believe it was either a corporal or a sergeant. I think it was a corporal at the time, Barun from Echo Company. Well, I'm sitting there. As soon as we pull in, we dismount. We get out, and I'm going up to him and I'm asking him like, "What the hell's going on?" He's giving me a situation report. And as we're sitting there talking, as I'm talking to him, he gets shot. Boom! We're just like, what in the heck? So he gets shot. He was okay. I think it got him in the leg, calf, or something like that. So he starts hopping around, and that conversation's over because, he's taking cover now. So I remember just grabbing Lay Long and saying, we're going to cut across this road because there was heavy gunfire across this road. But I wanted to get, there was a house across the street, and I tell, it was like 2 or 3 stories. I was like, we get to the roof of this, we're going to be able to see everything. So I take Dirty Steve. We haul ass across this road. It's getting lit up. I mean, just hearing it, just the shots whizzing by is just like, it'll give you chills thinking about it. So we get up there, we get into the front door, and the family's in there, and they want us to be there because they're in the middle of this big gunfight, and they're just innocent. And I said, I really need to get to your roof. And so they, I don't know if they even understood me, but I'm pointing to the roof. They let me get up there. So me and Steve went up there. And as soon as we get up on that roof, we just realized this is the last place, because there was no cover. And you can just hear the rounds and just impacting all around us. And we just hit the ground, boom, on that roof. I realized really quick we're not going to be able to see anything. You could see what's going on, but we didn't have the time to figure anything out before one of those rounds that were coming at us were going to impact one of us. And so immediately I just tell Steve, get off the roof. As soon as we got up there, and we got under that hailstorm and fire, we got back off and come down. But you just think about, like, and that's not even a big situation compared to some of the other ones, but there's so many moments that happen like that. Like I said, I feel like you could tell a story 100 times and people just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, but you're just thinking about that stuff. It's in the way that Lay Long, especially Lay Long, would just do it without hesitating. I would, put myself in bad situations, but that doesn't mean that you should put your team in bad situations,
Right. Right.
So I would either do it by myself or take Steve with me, because he would just be perfect for it. He would just be the guy that would do it and not say a word. I remember he would get real nervous in the very beginning. It was before anything major kicked off, but we ended up getting a night operation, and I think we were going to go check out this warehouse that they expected was people were in there making IEDs. So we're like, New Michigan comes down. We're going to go out that night. We got our NVGs on. We get out there. We low crawl up to our positions where we got eyes on, and we don't know what's going to happen. And it's kind of like your first big deal. and you're all, in night ops and got your EVGs going. So it's like your Rambo moment,
Nice.
And we're laying down in the prone, just waiting to hear word or just observe. And I hear Leylong's like poking on my leg. He's like, Hodges. I said, what's up? He goes, I got a shit. I said, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You should have went. But then I'm realizing, like, this dude's nervous as hell. Like, and so he goes, but I can't hold it. I said, you're going to have to shit laying right where you are right now, thinking he's just going to say no. He rolled over his side and took a shit right there in the prone on a night up right there without missing a beat. And, so it was kind of funny, but yeah, you got to respect that. The dude will shit right there. Just little things like that. Like I think about little stuff like that, and I laugh all the time. And it makes you like, your body goes through a lot. Like that was his nerves telling him, "Oh my God!" Like he literally was scared shitless, I guess, or nervous. But he never acted scared. He did everything that was asked of him. I know that, So just little things like that.
So you've talked a couple times about like, and that was the case for our section too, that teams were fairly fluid. I mean, there was definitely some people kind of coalesced together a little bit more, but in general, there was a little bit of a round robin. But I guess my question is at least for you, did you pick and choose a little bit your team, or did it just kind of like whoever climbed into the back is who got into the back?
I let Lieutenant Dobb figure that out. I never asked anything. I just did the job. And like I said, whoever I got, I kind of think if you come to my team, like, you know what you're getting. It's like, that's just, Hodges is wired one way and it's going to be that way. And I'm going to be that way when I'm with them. And they really did that. And like I said, they were young. They didn't know any better. but they did that, and it just worked out good. They're just, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just well-adversed. They can, you tell a bunch of young Marines, they're grunts like that. I mean, you can tell them anything and they can make it happen, to be honest.
I mean, the joke was we used to say, like, weapons company's motto was Semper Gumby, not Semper Fi, right?
Oh, 100%.
Always flexible, right?
Be flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
That's funny. You're saying they're young, but now I'm trying to think. So if you enlisted in like 1994 or whatever, how old were you in 2004?
I believe 27 or 28.
Right. Which makes you a grandfather, according to all the Lance Corporals who were 17 and 18 years old.
Yeah, and then like in Marine Corps, like if you've got a couple of deployments on front of somebody, you're like dog years in wisdom.
Yeah,
like,
so true.
Like 2 years in the Marine Corps is like, that's 14 dog years, man. Right?
Yeah.
So, me being 28, I mean, I was 28. You're still young as it can be. I just remember I was being called, me and Neil were like the old guys.
Right.
28, 27, 28.
Yeah.
I'm like, but really, like, if you've got if you have an enlistment or anything under your belt, it carries a lot of, I guess, weight, a little bit anyway, in situations like that, because like you said, the difference between a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old is major if you're in the Marines. The billets that you get, the responsibility that you get, it's like no other. It's you're going to be putting a big boy job. And yeah, you might only be 20, but you better be working it like you've been here for 20 years,
Yeah. That's accurate.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that. That's throw them into the fire and see what they're made of.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm all about that. And that's whatever one of those guys were. They were thrown in the fire. Look how many young guys we got straight out of SOI, School of Infantry. They're coming to us and literally 2 weeks into it, or, not 2 weeks into the fleet, but how many months was like guys like Ackles there for before he went to combat?
Well, Ackles was 2 weeks. That's exactly right. And there's a few other guys like that were 2 weeks. And some no more than a month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean,
I think, as crazy as it is, I think that's what partially, there's so many different elements that we should not have been as successful as we were. But I think that's one of the pieces that did make us successful, because you had people like the three of us who had a ton of experience coming into it. Nyla and I were on the back end of our first deployment when we only had a year left. And so we had all of this experience. But then, so we were bringing something to the table of that. But then we also had these no bad habit people. Like they didn't have an idea of how it should be. And so they were able to execute what we needed to have done, and them not being like, well, I have an idea. It's like, no, you don't. Yeah. You need it. No, you don't.
You don't have any idea, dude. I am your idea. I'm your voice.
That's right.
No, that's it. I mean, and that was, of all times, to not question things. That was, I mean, if you have questions, that's one thing, but not in certain situations.
Yeah.
Like once in a while, Stickle would, and I'm like, before he would even start, I love Stickle to death, but I would slap him upside the head, shut up, boom. Just react. Just do what we're doing.
But even
do what we're doing.
Even to counterbalance that, we had a chunk of people who had a huge amount of experience. I mean, yourself and Neil are good examples of that, like you just said. But even in the other platoons, you had Lashard and McCabe who had come over. They had just done the invasion and then came straight over from 3-5 to us and joined our platoons. We had Staff Sergeant Coleman, who had previous combat experience. We had Gunny Merarkey, who had previous combat experience. It was it's such a weird mix of like very senior people with very, very junior people, and it worked well in that way.
Yeah, I think it worked out great. And the fact that, like I said, I knew Merarkey from my first enlistment when he was a sergeant.
Yeah.
I mean, who I love to death. But he's one of those guys. You either love him or hate him.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to respect him.
Yep.
Because he knows what he's talking about. He's not there for all the bullshit. He's there for kind of like, he's there for the fight. You know what I mean?
For sure.
He's not going to be, he's all about the fight, you know? And he might say something that you don't want to hear, and he might say it just the way he probably shouldn't be saying it. But what he's saying is right. You better value it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know. I think about, it's just a crazy experience, man. And it's such a unique situation for all those young kids to be in. And
yeah, so recently, I think it was yesterday, I started trying to be like, okay, I was looking at the picture and I was like, I can't remember everybody's name. I need to actually write down everybody that was in 81s. And so I did both platoons, and there's 30 some odd in each section. And when I'm going through it, there's a good chunk that we did a long time with, but then there's quite a few, especially on the Rainmaker side, that got dropped over there. And for the life of me, I can't pull up their face because they were so junior.
yeah,
And it's absolutely wild to think about, like, that we went to combat with these guys without really knowing them. And a testament to them too, because did they step up to the plate.
yeah.
I was going to say, they didn't know you either. Yeah.
Right.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. And then, they were definitely, so you think about it, being the young guy. I mean, so if you're 18, 19, or however old you are, and you're going to the fleet, even if there's no war going on, if we're in peacetime, it's still a stressful situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Going to the fleet is a boot. Especially the way, like, they don't know, but the way I was treating them like boots, having fun with it. And throw on to the fact that they are going to get thrown into combat. And I mean, some of them, the first time they BZO their weapons were for combat.
Yes.
At Hurricane Point. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was a wild deal. It was a wild deal for them. So, they were intimidated. I remember just another crazy situation is like, in different firefights where I remember McNaughton, we were taking individual fires. I believe it was a sniper shooting at us, and we could hear the rounds hitting him. There was a group of us on this intersection, and then there'd be some heavy fire pop off, and then it would just die off, and then we'd get the individual shots coming down. You could hear them, and I remember one of those times when it was multiple people shooting us. We popped our head out and we were start shooting McNaughton at this intersection. He returned fire, but his barrel was literally about, 8 inches from my ear, like right next to my face. And he was behind me. Boom, he shot. And, even though you're in your weapon, letting it rip, you're not expecting that sucker, that muzzle flash. I felt the heat off his muzzle flash on my face. And it felt like my ear exploded. And so I got so pissed off. I start yelling at him, and I grab him and snatch him up, yank his ass behind me. I go off on him, and then, it's in the heat of the moment, and like maybe 20 more seconds, same stuff happens, and people will pop out, and we have to get on them. And that son of a bitch pokes his head out and shoots right by my ear again. And in the middle of this alley during a firefight, I'm butt stroking him. I'm butt stroking my own guy because and it scared me. Like, I think this dude's about to blow my head off because he's just inches away, and like my face is in front of his barrel. And looking back, like I said at the time, I was pissed off. I literally butt stroked him in the face. But you look back at it now, and it's funny as hell. Yep. Just a lot of different stories like that. I can only imagine what they were thinking, what he was thinking at that time. He's getting his ass kicked by his own guy, when other people are shooting at us. Just think about that chaos, man. It's how would you explain it? I don't know. It's like nothing that you can compare to, right? But I don't like. I liked all that. I liked all that.
Well, that's the beauty of this, is that we try to get all these little stories from everybody's perspective, and then you kind of get a picture of the chaos because you get a little piece of it from everybody.
Yeah. So what day do you guys remember? What was it? Was it the 10th when we what was it? Was it the 10th when we were going to go into that mosque? Like, we were really going to we were going to go into the mosque. We knew
that's much later on.
Far later.
Late July.
Late July.
Are you talking about when the guys went in and they shot and there's all pandemonium?
Well, that's when the dumbass Turk shot himself.
That's end of July.
That was July?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not see. My dates are kind of... But that was hilarious. The dude ended up shooting his foot, blowing his toes off. And then the impact was... He shot the Iraqi police guy right in his ass.
Yeah.
Oh, he shot more than that. He shot some... the one guy, he shot him in both shins, and another guy got shot in the gut, and another guy got shot in the ass. He shot himself in the foot. But do you remember how that all went down?
Well, I remember he had a for whatever reason he was allowed to carry a weapon, but one of them had a camera, right?
That's the video key to the story.
Camera, and they were going to go in there, and we were going to video. And and I just remember that camera light flopping around. And
so okay. So let me just remind you of the story. So what happened is that we gave one of the Terps a video camera to videotape the entire thing.
Yeah.
He got really excited about being able to use the video camera and was like showing everybody, like our guys, that he had the video camera. Was talking
he got
about
in late, didn't he?
That's it. And so everybody else went in, and we were like, "Get the fuck in there!" And so he ran in, and whoever it was that ended up shooting off he was the guy from Dearborn.
His name was Mike. Mike, the interpreter from Dearborn, Michigan. Yep.
Yeah.
He ended up shooting because he thought it was like somebody that was coming in with an IED, and he got scared, and he had his finger on the trigger and just shot like everybody. And that one IP ran out the door, and we couldn't figure out what the fuck was happening on the inside.
Yep.
So anyways,
I look back at like he blew his own toes off and everything.
Yes.
Oh,
well, that's hilarious.
he lost that foot because he refused to get pulled out because he wanted the money, right?
He wanted to make money, and then he got gangrene or something.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yes.
He ended up losing like half of his foot.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to. So I only know the back end of that story because I had to hold him down while Rake Brandt cut off his boot to take a look at it. And at that point, that was the grossest infected wound I had ever seen in my life. And Rake Brandt was like, "Oh yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go. We gotta go see the surgeon. We're going over to Junction City." And yeah, and then he left. He did. He ended up losing his foot.
Because he came from stateside, he was making way more money than the other.
Oh
ones.
yeah. No, by far.
Money.
Yeah.
He was making like 400 a day or something, wasn't he?
I don't know, but he was. Yeah.
It was something out. He had like a legit contract, and these other guys were getting. They were getting Iraqi money. You know, they weren't getting fat.
Yeah.
So he wanted to stay and milk it.
Yeah.
But he
No, we
stayed.
had
Cost him
at that point. It was Wilbur, Rocco. I think there's a Danny and a Mike.
Yep.
I think it's
That sounds
that we
right.
had.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the deployment. So.
And I don't know how many were even trustworthy. I feel like Rocco was trustworthy.
Yeah.
I know that. Well, I think this is true, but one of the we went to a house, I believe, somewhere. I can't remember when and where. But I believe I heard the story that Weiler got on the like they had a phone, and he hit like the *67 or whatever, where it makes it, or *69, where you can redial it. Remember when you could do that on landlines back then?
Yeah.
And they answered that phone from the house that was a target, and it, like when he did whatever he did, it rang back at where our Terps were staying.
Well, that's funny.
They were in contact with the target house, so they were essentially setting us up.
Sure.
Our first rounds of Terps all got relieved. We ended up killing one during a raid because he was helping out with the raid, or the ambush, excuse me. He was a part of the ambush. It was a night ambush. And that might have come out of that larger story. I don't, that sounds vaguely familiar. But then if you remember, then we had that short stint when we had those Moroccan and Terps that didn't speak Arabic.
No, they spoke the wrong language. Yeah.
They spoke the wrong language. Our beautiful State Department didn't understand that Moroccan and Arabic were two wildly different
You might as well
languages.
just sent the Chinese. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered at that point.
I think the people that we had at the end were pretty. I was legitimately friends with Kazem Wilbur at the end. He was a real solid dude. But
Yeah, I remember Wilbur being good. I remember Rocco being good. And then it's hard to trust anybody in that situation, except for the dude wearing blouse that says Marines on it. You know?
Yeah, especially with the number of blue and blues. I mean, even the Army was like, "Well, are you going to shoot at us today?"
Don't get me started on that.
Did you guys end up having a blue on blue?
No, but we just so many times, especially when we were like on OPs and stuff. This happened to us, and it was very close to shooting back at them. We're on the bridge, that post on the bridge.
Yeah.
And it was at night, and they had got hit by an IED. We'd seen the IED go off, and you just see tracer rounds flying everywhere. So the Army was just shooting in a 360, and tracer rounds were coming right at us on the bridge. I'm like, they have no freaking, they're just spraying and praying. They're not directing any gunfire towards any specific target, and little things like that. Like when we started getting rounds come, I was like, all right. And I told myself, if we keep seeing tracers coming at me, we're going to send some tracers back their way. Maybe they'll get the message.
Yeah.
But it didn't come to that, thank God.
Unfortunately, there's more than one story of that's how we got the Army to stop shooting at us, is that we literally had to return. Back? We literally had to return fire.
Yeah, no, that's no joke. I mean, absolutely. It was crazy. Can you imagine that? Getting in a firefight with the Army in Iraq? I don't know. I always reflect back to, I believe it was April 10th, just the day we had, I think we went down to the river. That's the day when we pushed a bunch of people out. Tell me if I'm wrong. We found all the hospitals out there. Was that on April 10th?
So depending on which one you remember, you were a part of both. So April 8th would be Operation County
Fair, right?
which was a little smaller. But that was the one where we found a lot of the field hospitals and supplies. Very limited as far as any firefights go. But 10th was the opposite. We surrounded the majority of the Sofia district. And that was when they had the loudspeakers out. They were calling out the guys and playing rock and roll music, and the Cobras were overhead. And that was when a lot more engagement, a lot more. I mean, I think I remember some of the guys from the line companies, saying things like this was like Revenge Day, basically. Like we called a lot of people out, and they had a lot more engagements than I think even most of the weapons company people did.
Yeah. So we had the bug hunt on the 10th, right?
Yes.
And so we went, man, that's when we were going from location. We'd go from one fight on our way to another.
Yep.
We went from Echo, and then we went to reinforced golf, and we got attacked on the way there.
Yep.
That was the, on the way there, I believe I talked to you guys before. I told you this. It's when, I don't know if they were trying to set the IED off on my truck or the truck in front of me, but it went off right between us.
Mm-hmm.
And it barely missed both of us, but the little girl that was standing out in front, I remember just looking at her, and then the explosion goes off, and then everything, you don't see anything but dust and explosion. And then when it all cleared, she was gone. She was completely like disintegrated. And she might have been 10 years old, 9 years old, which, I got a son that's 10 now, and you thinking about that, it's like, wow. That's when we started, we knew like these people that were fighting right now, they're not from here.
Right.
They're putting bombs out in front of these, neighborhoods, killing these kids just to get a shot at us, Yeah. That was actually the 10th. That was my sister's birthday, is when I had the guy open up on me from 10 feet away.
Right.
That was by far the craziest situation of my life. That was wild. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Like, it reminds me of like the sound of the gunfire when Lieutenant Dobb and them got hit when they were ambushed. As we're clearing up this high grass to go get somebody that had been shot earlier, that's when I see this man laying out there that we had shot, and he's kind of moving. His body's still flinching. I'm like, all right, he's still alive, and he's got an AK still on him. Okay, as we're not marching up, but as we're walking up, I'm kind of fixated on him. That's when I tell Captain Weiler, he's behind me, good ways, but he's still behind me. I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this guy again, and he told me not to. I don't know if I should have just done it anyway, but anyway, as we're walking up, I'm fixated on this one guy, thinking as soon as I get close enough, he's going to either throw a grenade at me, or he's going to grab that AK that's laying on his stomach. Either way, I can't take my eyes off of him, so I have no peripheral vision now. I'm like laser focused in, and then out of nowhere, boom, boom. 10 feet away, just the sound alone of those gunfire coming at you. And you got to understand, like, I wasn't looking that way. I was looking straight. And to the right of me was that dude sitting down in the high grass. He had I believe it was an RPK on bipods. And it was like it wasn't a ditch area, but it was like it might have been some kind of hole or whatever that he was in, slope. And so he was hitting pretty good, but just hear the gun rounds, and that right there, that's when everybody hit the deck. And without so I'm still trying to figure out for a fraction of a second where this is even coming from, because you got to gather yourself real quick, and you don't have any time to think. You think long, you think wrong, right? As soon as I turn myself, I mean, it happens so quick. You don't even have time to get in your sights. You just point and shoot, you know. So he had already been shooting at me. We counted 29 casings right there after I ended up killing the guy. So there's no telling how many times he had shot at me first, and this is all just a fraction of a second, and you just get up on him. And I remember seeing, this is no bullshit, the whites of his eyes. That's how close he was. And I just kept going towards him. And I probably shot, I don't know, 10 times. I know about 6 to 8 of them hit him. But at the very end of that, like by the time I got done killing him, I mean, I was touching him. I remember the smoke having to clear from his gun so I could end up seeing him, you know, at one point after it had already started. It's just a crazy deal. Like, you don't have time to react. You don't have time to think. You just hope that your body has those natural instincts, I guess, to react, because he got the jump on me, and I just think he had to be the worst shot in the history of war. Goes back again to the point I was telling you. A lot of it has to do with like being lucky.
Yeah.
And that had
100%.
nothing, you know, that it had a lot to do with me living through that day. It's, you know, you just hope you're going to react that way. And thank God I did. You didn't have time to think about it. So it's really the ultimate fight of my life. I mean, it's going down, and you know, within less than a second, somebody's going to die. It's either going to be him or it's going to be me. It just so happened I killed him, and I was able to fight another day, and he is never going to kill anybody again. Yeah, it was just holy crap thinking about it. And towards the end of that, Lei Long did come up. The last couple shots, Lei Long came out of the blue. If I'm Batman, that's my Robin. You know, he comes just like he does from nowhere, and ends up shooting the guy a couple times towards the end too, just to help finish him off. But that was, I remember that was on my sister's birthday. So if I would have got killed that day, that would have been on my sister's birthday. Yeah. And it would have been a tough deal. But I remember when it was all said and done, the adrenaline rush. I can't even put it into words because I have nothing to compare it to. But it was something that will never be replicated. And I just remember Hersher grabbing the video camera and filming, and he asked me a question. I was like, you know, back then the SGLI, if he got killed, was what, $250,000?
Oh yeah.
I was like, my mom don't know how close she just got to getting paid $250K.
That's too funny.
But, it was wild. I remember I had the video camera after that. And that's when Captain Weiler had the shrapnel in his face from the rounds hitting right, because he was behind me.
Yeah.
I believe it when I talked to you before, I mentioned it, but like he in the book, you know, gave me credit for saving his life, and that's he's a general now.
Yeah.
You bet your ass I take pride in that, you know. Even though he wanted to probably kick me out of the Marine Corps when we first got over there, from all the trouble I was getting into beforehand. But it all worked out in the long run. Right. See, violence is the answer, guys. I'm telling you. Violence is always the answer.
So I'm curious, now that you say this, did you end up ever getting wounded during the deployment at all?
Yeah, I got 2 Purple Hearts. But compared to what other people got, it's very superficial, you know.
Well, even then, I don't know that I knew the stories behind those. What were the 2 instances where you got wounded?
One was an IED, and one was what was they had mortared Hurricane Point, and it was me. It was a gunny from I believe Motor T and somebody else, or that we were doing laundry. And the round hit right there on Saddam's castle or whatever the hell we were standing right there.
Yeah.
And then the shrapnel got us from that. But it was funny because it wasn't a HE round. Like it didn't have, what it did was it hit the building, and it was like the broken part of the building coming in and hitting me in the face. And that's what that was. And then there was like we don't know if it was gas or we don't know if it was gunpowder.
Okay.
Battalion commander come out. He was like, what? We're like, we don't even know. Like, we didn't, we knew it was like probably a mortar round or something that had hit, but it didn't have your high impact. It smashed the wall. He come out and he thought like your eyes were burning, and battalion commander thought it was from gunpowder. And I just remember one of the, I won't say his name, the gunny from one of the gunnies there was just trying to milk that. Battalion commander's like, what's wrong? And I told him, I was like, that guy's just being a pussy. He's like, hey, he is a gunny. I said, yes, sir. So that was, I don't know, one of the perks of, I guess, being a Hodges. You can call a gunny a pussy and not get in trouble for it, too, battalion commander.
Yeah.
It was that, and then the other time was it was on the day that home got and Hurley got IED'd.
Yeah, sure.
And then that was the other one.
So the shell that you're talking about that hit the palace, was that June 8th? Do you happen to remember the date?
I don't even know.
It was your Purple Heart, so I was curious.
I have to look at it. Yeah, I have to look. I mean, like I said, I can't tell you. I remember the incidents, but I don't remember the days very good.
Yeah, so on June 8th, there were 2 rounds that hit the palace that I can remember, and one of them was a CS gas shell.
Yeah, it might have been, and it was early in the morning.
Yeah.
And we were the only, I was over there doing my laundry, and that happened, and I just remember more than anything getting pissed off at that gunny for acting like.
Well, sure, yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even care. Like, they're like, you need to go to BAS right now. And I said, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. I'm alive. I can see everything's great. And he's over there faking it like he's got this major concussion. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
It just really pissed me off. And I have a problem without being able to shut my mouth sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he does know, but yeah. To this day, that whole situation, what makes me mad is that one individual.
And less so, obviously, about enemy shooting badges, but did you ever receive a personal award? Did you receive a personal award for that engagement you were talking about?
Yeah, I got the a Navy Combat V.
Nice. And was it like during the citation, was it specifically for that engagement with the guy with the RPD or RPK?
Yeah, it was for that. It was for a few things. Like that was in the beginning of the awards writing. I mean, looking back at it, I mean, they rolled a couple of things into it,
Sure.
Did you get that in country, or was that after we got back?
No, I got that in country.
Yeah. I find this fascinating for multiple reasons. I have a weird personal obsession with the awards process from 2004. Not that I necessarily think that everybody deserved, a lot, but take that story in isolation and put it in any other deployment with any other group, you would have likely gotten a Bronze Star, right? Like that's if not higher for that level of activity. And there were other units that were in our AO that people got bronze and silver stars.
Yeah, for far less.
No, for far less.
No, I agree. So First Sergeant Ellis, rest in peace. When that award ceremony is over, originally they only put it in for a NAM.
Yeah. And
he come to me and said, dude, they're going to bump this. You should be getting a Bronze Star. I didn't even really know anything. I was like it didn't matter to me at the time. Like, right. What I really wanted, if I was going to be, I wanted that combat action ribbon. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, it was early in the process. So, you didn't have a lot to gauge it from.
Sure.
So, Yeah, I know it could have been a lot higher. And First Sergeant Ellis told me that, but
Yeah.
I wasn't, I wasn't tripping on it or anything like that.
Yeah. Interesting.
But,
I mean, the same thing with you talking about Savage's award. And I truly applaud Lieutenant Dobb for even taking the time after the fact to making sure Savage got an award. But the things described, even the things you described of him now, easily Bronze Star worthy, right? Like,
oh yeah, listen. The guy was taking rounds off the turret 6 inches in front of his face,
Yeah.
and like I said, half the people still got their head down in their lap trying to figure out where in the hell. People don't realize like that deafening sound of machine guns going off when it surprises you, and they're going off because they're trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You gotta, how you react is everything.
Yeah.
And there's a human reaction, which is usually seek cover and figure out and then assess it. Savage, he took no time, dude. He popped up on there, and from where, like my vantage view, I saw it all.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do really anything about it until after the fact. We could get out and we started to move and do whatever we could. But I'm telling you, man, those guys had free reign. And if they'd have somebody shooting back at them, they had no reason to stop shooting at them.
Right.
And he saved lives.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, with the rounds bouncing off front of his face, it's impressive.
Yeah. Well, we've been going about another good hour and 15 minutes. I can definitely weave all this together. Is there anything else that you were thinking that you wanted to cover? I appreciate actually some of the details you've brought into this. It'll make a good, complete story. It'll be good. I'm glad you reached out to kind of put in some more of this. It'll make it nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I believe I've said pretty much all the other stuff.
Nice. All right, good.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, man.
I sure appreciate it, guys.
If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe for future episodes on your favorite podcast service.